Thank you for joining me for another quick hits conversation. Today, I would like to talk about how do you deal with someone who consistently complains? Who wants to start us off today?
I think in a work environment, because the personal at home environment I'm slightly uncomfortable with, but in the work environment, as a line manager, you are fully entitled to give them feedback and tell them that, hey, when you complain or you bitch about the company, that makes other people feel a bit down or slows down work or has a negative impact on productivity. So please don't do that. So I think by being able to give that, using that feedback model and being able to give people that direct feedback, you can try and nip it in the bud quite quickly, and hopefully it stops it, but it might reoccur and then you might have to give more feedback.
What's the difference between complaining and being the squeaky wheel that needs to get something fixed?
I think it depends on how it's done. So if you've got a strong performer who then makes an observation that something isn't working, or you've got somebody who is, now the language is changing, bitches continually about the organization and all the policies and or XYZ department, I think that's two slightly different, or no, very different scenarios, not even slightly different, would be my take.
Yeah, no, I'm inclined to agree. Like if you'd think that if it was sort of constructive and you know, if it comes hand in hand with so therefore we should do this, you know, something a bit with a positive upswing at the end of it, then it's less complainy and it's more constructive and it's more sort of, you know, let's just make it better, which is actually quite a positive sentiment. Whereas if it's all negative, you know, this sucks, this is crap, hate this is rubbish, full stop, that's the end. That's just complaining and it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
So I just heard that the tip is end with some positive aspect. Not necessarily the horrible feedback sandwich that I absolutely hate the idea of, oh, you must do a positive before the negative and then another positive after. But just, can we have some sort of suggestion to go along with it? Not just, oh, this is horrible, here is something that might help improve it. Feels like one way to shift it if we're on the delivering side. And I was already going, okay, if I'm on the receiving end of those sorts of feedback, well, first off, reframing it internally as feedback and saying, this is not necessarily something I have to respond to negatively. It's something that I can take something useful from. And if I catch myself responding negatively, my first step is, ooh, is that me or is that actually objective?
So then the question then becomes, if someone's coming to me complaining, not providing feedback, not being helped, but complaining, can I help them reframe it by asking for solutions or ideas or what they'd like to change? Is that a way to handle someone who complains a lot?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I think it would, as you say though, I think that the problem is, because my thought first runs, if it's someone who's seems to be doing this a lot and they're continually or consistently complaining, that the chances of them knowing that they're doing it, I would have thought is pretty slim, because I think everybody can see, you know, if you had a room full of 100 people and said, put your hand up if this is annoying, that everyone would put their hand up. And yet there's bound to be at least one person in that room who fits that description. So I'm wondering if the first step would actually be making them aware of the fact that it's coming across as being all negative all of the time, because they may not know that that's the case.
Because I have acquaintances that I dread asking them, how's it going, or how you doing? Because I know it's going to be a barrage of absolutely life is horrible and I don't really want to deal with it. And that, I mean, as a coach or as a psychologist or what, then yes, it's my responsibility to help them with that. But if you're my friend, no, don't do that to me.
It's hard as well, I guess, isn't it? Because from a friend's point of view, like if somebody comes to you professionally with a string of complaints or issues or problems, they are expecting you to come back with something fixy. Whereas when a friend does it, the expectation is that you will possibly just listen and let them vent and kind of go, oh, you know, and that's it. So if you come back with anything else, I think to your point, Rowley, what you were saying about it being slightly more awkward in a personal context, for me, I think that's why. It's because first of all, you can't speak on behalf of the greater good if you're sort of telling them something, it's because it annoys you.
Mm.
That's it, which is uncomfortable. And then there's that issue with what response does this person actually want from me, and am I willing to give them that response?
I've asked that question. I've said to people, are you looking to vent or are you looking to solve? And
the
sometimes
response
people
was?
say both, and sometimes they say solve. I've never had someone just come back and say, I just want to vent, because, you know, I'm not a therapist. Qualified, but that's not what I do.
Yeah, sometimes it is when they want to. I find it very challenging on a personal level, and often I just remove myself from those situations because there's nothing I can give you, and you're just bumming me out. So you know what? Let's just going to avoid the situation. And hello, oh no, look, at the time I've got a dash. Maybe that's not very noble, but it's there's not enough time in this world to be around that position sometimes, and it's not very loving or giving, or I don't know what the word is, nurturing, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm a bad person, but it's I think sometimes you can do what you can and maybe try once or twice, but if it becomes a repetitive, almost chronic condition that's all they want to do, and it's they complaining about the government, and it doesn't matter what color the government is, whether in the US terms it's red or blue, they still complain. Well, did you vote? No. Well, there's your problem. So, but so yeah, I don't. For me, it's easier in a work environment if you can talk to someone and they're willing to take that conversation on board around where you are and why they're complaining, and have you complained, but have you done anything about it? You're complaining about the potholes, but have you actually reported it to the authority that fixes potholes? No. Well, then stop complaining. So I think people can help themselves sometimes. And then maybe you just need to let them carry on their own way, because you're not going to help them improve.
I know for me, whether I help, you know, somewhat on a personal level, if someone's complaining and unhappy and that's a consistent thing, whether or not I stand in there and kind of give them that space, or whether I remove myself from it, depends upon how I'm feeling. Do I have the extra energy, the extra bandwidth to be there for them? Because, you know, I get it. Sometimes life is awful. And I was going to use a harsher word than that, and sometimes you just need to be able to like talk to somebody about it. And that's fine if I have the bandwidth to handle that. So I think how you handle someone complaining depends upon your bandwidth too.
Yeah.
I've definitely unfriended people on Facebook because I did not have the resources to deal with what they were venting. And it was very clear to me, and it was an actual in-person friend. So later on we reconnected and they're like, what's going on? I said, I was not dealing well with what you're posting. I owned that. And I felt like that is the only reason that we maintain the relationship. Fun. On a business setting, it feels like this is a skill. Negative identification of something going on is a skill. Where can we use this effectively? Can we bring in the whole 6 thinking hats metaphor and help them go, look, I don't always have to wear the black hat. I can also wear some of the other hats. Or, you know what, we do value those inputs. Right now is not the right context, the timing, etc.
Yeah.
So can we redirect that and reframe it as, no, this is really a useful skill. Now is just not the right time.
Karina, you have any last thoughts you want to throw out there before I have to wrap us up?
I got so engrossed there in what Wayne was saying, I lost track of everything I was thinking prior to that. So no, I don't think so. I don't think I could be of any further use.
Yeah, so it sounds like to me what we're saying basically is pay attention to your own bandwidth so that someone isn't dragging you under with them. It's like being a lifeguard. If someone starts climbing on you, swim down to get away from them. The same holds here. If someone is dragging you down, you need to be able to protect yourself. If you have the bandwidth, offer either, are you looking to vent? Are you looking for solutions? This is in the personal setting. And in a professional setting, we're saying, hey, you need to pull somebody aside and have a professional conversation with them and offer them that feedback. If you're in a position to do so, don't just allow someone to be that squeaky wheel that isn't coming up with solutions, because that's what we're looking for, is if there's a problem, let's solve it. So thanks so much for joining me today for this Quick Hits. I appreciate it. I enjoyed the conversation immensely. I can talk, and we'll do it again soon. Thanks.
Cheers, Robyn.
Bye.